traders, and welcome to this week's Forex Focus. I hope you've all had a good week in the markets. There were certainly some very nice moves to be had there. We had a lot of volatility this week, a lot of momentum in the markets, some nice directional moves, which has really set us up very nicely for the weeks or months ahead. So without further ado, let's jump over to the charts and check out what's set up this week. So the first one of interest is the Aussie yen. Now with the Aussie yen, as you can see from the daily charts and the weekly charts down here, there's been quite a lot of momentum. It's literally sold off this entire week. If we zoom into the daily there, you can see exactly what I mean. So it's been tracking lower over the past year anyway. And last week, literally, there's just so much momentum in the markets. The only problem that we have right here is that it's now trading towards these lows. The fact that it managed to close beneath those lows on Friday is obviously a very positive thing for us. But the one thing that we don't want to see is we don't want to see the market trade back above this level, because if it does that, then obviously we could be looking at some sort of a temporary consolidation or temporary reversal. I don't for 1 minute think that that's going to be an overall reversal of this trend. I think that we'll still go lower. But I think that we just kind of need to be mindful of that particular level there, because if it does go back above it, it could spell a period of consolidation. The only thing is, though, is that on the 4-hour chart, we'd probably get the best entry for this particular pair here. So if you take a look at the daily chart there, any pullback there, any sort of decent pullback would be more of a sort of like a reversal of this movement here. So the best entry that we would get would probably be in the 4-hour chart over here. However, if we get too much of a significant pullback in this chart here, it will then mean that we're trading back above this level. So the Aussie yen is going to be something that we will monitor for the coming weeks ahead. But in terms of an entry next week, potentially we won't see anything meaningful. The only thing that you might be able to play is a temporary, if the market holds below this level, then obviously you'll get the momentum to the downside, or perhaps a bit of a liquidity fade back into this range here. The Aussie dollar is another one that we're looking at, and potentially this could be quite a nice one for the coming months. Obviously, from well, you can see it from the weekly chart over here. It's been moving down for a long time, for more than just the last year. You know, the last few years, this has been moving further and further down. And now the market's found the strength to sort of have another attempt at these lows here. What I'm looking for either is for the market to break beneath these lows. So if we zoom into the daily chart there, for the market to break through these lows here, then sort of retest these lows and treat it as resistance and give us an opportunity to go short. Or in the shorter term, potentially, we can look at the 4-hour chart. So we're not at this level yet, but perhaps we'll get some sort of a pullback here on the 4-hour chart, which we can use as an opportunity to take the sell down towards these levels. But we'll have to just wait to see how that sets up, because potentially we could find ourselves down at these lows by Monday lunchtime. So that's one we'll keep an eye on. The CAD yen is another one that we'll look at. I mean, you're going to see that as a bit of a theme this week. The yen strength has been showing itself across the board. So a lot of the yen pairs are presenting some very nice opportunities for us. As I said, the CAD yen here, as you can see, literally fallen off a cliff. So the nice thing about this pair that you don't see on some of the others is the fact that the CAD yen has actually also broken through the structure. So we don't have any sort of significant levels to watch out for. Plus, from a fundamental perspective, this is probably the best one on the table, being that the CAD potentially is one of the weaker currencies going into 2016. We can definitely see some weakness in the Canadian dollar in the coming months. So this potentially could be one of the best setups that we see. Obviously, it's gone a long way in quite a short space of time. So we need to wait for the market to pull back somewhat before we get our entry. Ideally, we'd like to see some sort of a pullback towards this level here. So if the market can pull back, and we'll just get in our horizontal line there. If the market can pull back to this sort of level here, you potentially see a nice short opportunity. Where that manifests itself, probably you'd want to see it on the daily chart, because if we get it on the 4-hour chart, you're then going to see that the market is above the 100 moving average there, and hence from a sentiment perspective, that might not be the best entry to take. So the entry perspective, I'd like to see it pull back on the daily chart. Obviously, if you do get some sort of a 1, 2, 3 reversal on the 4-hour chart, then you can look to take it. It's not a bad trade to take, but I'm just saying from a momentum perspective, from a purely charting perspective, the setup would probably be looking for as a candlestick reversal when it gets up to this level here. The euro pound is potentially a great one to look out for the not just the coming week, but the coming weeks and months ahead. Obviously, the euro took a bit of a battering last year, but we can certainly see that with this particular currency here, because the European Central Bank sort of disappointed the markets in terms of what they did with their asset purchasing program. If they don't look or hint at expanding that or anything, we can certainly see the euro recover against many of its counterparts in 2016. So that's something we'll definitely going to look into. At the moment, there's no real opportunity in the euro pound, but it's certainly something that we're going to look at. If you look at this on the weekly basis here, it's broken structure, which is quite significant. So if it can remain above this level here, we can see this as being a sort of catalyst for the euro pound to really appreciate in the coming week and months ahead. The pound dollar has shown its hand. The pound dollar has shown that it wants to go lower. Obviously, you can see that it's kind of been tracking lower from a daily basis over the past 6 months. From sort of, August of last year, it's been printing lower lows and lower highs, if we zoom in there like that. But literally in the past couple of weeks, it's found the momentum to really, really break lower. And now it's currently holding below this structure level over here. I can see in the weeks ahead that we potentially get some really nice opportunities here. I'll be looking for a pullback on the 4-hour chart to give us an opportunity to go short. The only thing that we will have to look out for is the fact that the short is potentially going to take us, if it pulls back from here, the short will take us into this previous structure level there, which could prove as sort of like a bit of a stopping point, a support level there that may cause us a few issues. So that's certainly something that we need to keep an eye on. The dollar CAD is something that we spoke about last week. Looking at it from the daily perspective, again, it's found some more momentum to push to the upside there. We still want to pull back on the daily. It looks a little bit overextended at the moment, so we're not looking to buy here. But if we can get some sort of a pullback, the dollar CAD is certainly one that we will be looking to take long. The dollar yen, as I said, there's a bit of a theme going on here. The yen obviously appreciating against everything. The dollar yen is also something that we have in our targets. Now, it's at a big level. So this is going to prove sort of like a bit of a decision point for the dollar yen. If you take a look at it from the weekly perspective, we're trading at these lows here. So this consolidation range that's held in place since 2014. This is where we're trading towards. If the market gets towards this level here and it starts to bounce and we get some sort of a liquidity fade, I'd be perfectly happy to take it temporarily to the upside anyway. We don't think fundamentally that there's necessarily going to be a lot of upside potential until we get out above this level over here. Okay, but certainly in the short term, we can see a bit of a bounce here. So we're at a decision level where we can potentially trade in either direction. So we can either trade to the upside there, or we can trade to the downside. We've just got to wait to see what the market does when it gets to this level here. But it's certainly something that we've got our sights on for the coming weeks and months ahead. Then finally, we have the pound yen. Now, the pound yen is really taken a battering over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we were calling this in the Forex Focuses towards the end of the year, the fact that it broke. If we go and take a look at this on the daily perspective, the fact that it broke the upwards trend line that it had been tracking for really quite a period of time. Let me just put that in there. So it actually goes back further than this, but this will give us a good idea anyway. So the market had broken beneath that particular level there. So we were expecting the market would go lower, but literally over the past couple of weeks, it's absolutely smashed low, and we can see nothing but further downside for the pound yen in the coming week ahead. So certainly we're going to be looking for a pullback. Where we get that pullback is debatable. potentially the 4-hour chart, but looking at this momentum here, may be more likely some sort of a consolidation on the 1-hour chart, at which point obviously we'll look to be taking that shorter, taking a sell to the downside there. So that wraps it up for this week's Forex Focus. I'm sorry that there wasn't anything more solid in terms of entries there. Obviously, with the momentum moves that we've had over the last week, we're waiting for pullbacks now, but at least we've got some really nice direction in the markets. That's what you're looking for as a trader. So you can't make money unless the markets move. So we need to be thankful for the fact that obviously the market has moved. It's given us some momentum. Hopefully these are sorts of trends that we can follow into the first couple of weeks of this year anyway, until obviously we get more of a direction, as we were talking about last week, from a fundamental perspective. So until we see, what some of the central banks are saying and things like that. But certainly from a technical perspective, from a momentum perspective, there are some great moves out there to be had. There's some amazing charts to keep an eye on, and that's what we're going to be doing for the coming week and the coming weeks ahead. If you enjoyed this, please obviously give it the thumbs up. Please share this video with anybody that you think will enjoy this and will find value in these videos here. As always, please remember that it's for educational purposes only. So we're not telling you that you have to take any of these trades there. We're just showing you what we're doing within our own accounts, because we're not authorized or regulated to give investment advice. Okay? So thank you very much for watching this video here. I hope you enjoyed this week's Forex Focus, and I look forward to seeing you on next week's Forex Focus. Take care now and have a great week's trading.